The sneaker of 2023, aka the undrafted but now league's MVP, is the.
Welcome to another episode of the SoleSavy podcast. My name is Marco Negrete, and today I am joined by KO from ATATF, Addicted to All Things Fresh. KO, thanks for joining us.
My guy, how are you, man? Appreciate you having me.
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about some of these end of the year lists. I know you have a strong opinion on some of the sneakers that have been featured, as well as looking into 2023. We're recording this in that week between Christmas and the New Year, so it's a perfect time to reflect. But also, 2023 is right around the corner, and we know that there is going to be no shortage of sneaker storylines to go there. But I do want to speak a little bit about ATATF, Addicted to All Things Fresh. I know the acronym, and every time I try to say it, I skip up a little bit. Yeah, tell me a little bit about this. I know it's a massive sneaker community, tens of thousands of members, really rooted in Atlanta, but it sounds like, obviously the influence goes far beyond that. Tell me a little bit about the group and the kind of the role you play with it.
Yeah, so ultimately, ATATF is we're a community, man. We're so multi-hyphenate, but ultimately we're a community based in Atlanta, Georgia, living on the Facebook platform. We have about 50,000 members at this current moment, with about 15,000 people waiting to get in. But we started in 2010, 2011, and of course, with the trajectory of just sneakers and pop culture from that time in 2010 up to now, running simultaneously with Atlanta, Georgia, we kind of, we were in a sweet spot. We grew along with the city of Atlanta. But not only are we just about sneakers, but we're about everything within pop culture. We embody that. I like to say we're a conduit as well of, that streamline between culture and corporate, because we got, corporate entities within our group as well. And also with us picking up a global foundation and global awareness by utilizing other social media platforms that kind of allows us to kind of represent what Atlanta represents, indirectly amongst, culture, no matter what culture we're speaking of, whether it's food culture, sneaker culture, arts, music, etc. So it's been a wild ride. Definitely could not have seen this growing into what it is as of right now. And we don't exist without our members, man. It's so much energy that's embedded within our group, man, that allows us to grow.
Man, that's awesome to hear. And I know I've heard about the group for years and years on end. I do want to talk a little bit about Kickchella. Tell me about that event that you had this year.
Yeah, so Kickchella was, once again, ATATF is a solution-based brand, and Kickchella was also the same thing as well. So we launched Kickchella over this past September at the Atlanta, Georgia International Convention Center by the airport, man. And that was ultimately put, there and to be a streamline of, once again, culture being an IRL format. We were initially supposed to launch it 2 to 3 years ago, but of course, COVID happened. And, we had to adjust with that. But Kickchella, ultimately, we had a good turnout. The goal with that was more so to kind of pidget away from what sneaker shows are starting to look like now, where you got everybody kind of like being a seller. There's no social aspect to it or things of that nature. So within that space with Kickchella, what we did was we made sure it was super experiential. So therefore, we may have had, as soon as you walk in, you get a Ferrari that's right in front of your face, filled up with all white Air Force Ones, aka the go-to sneaker for Atlanta. So it's like, also we had the storytelling amongst that, with it being our first one. So what we wanted to do is make sure we created experiences. I know I've been going to sneaker shows for forever, and over the past 5 to 7 years, it's just been redundant. You go in there, you see everybody kind of selling the same thing. You don't see anybody kind of speaking to each other, and everything's kind of transactional. The conversations are transactional. It's no social aspect of just growing community. And I feel like we have to represent that. We have to be the change that we want to see. So in order to do that, you got to launch things that, can fulfill that void. And that's ultimately what we want each other to do. So we're looking to spin the block and come back around sometime between April and May of 2023.
I mean, it makes sense that a group and a community like ATATF would emerge from all of these different cultures in Atlanta. And honestly, who better to talk to about the best sneakers of 2022 than you, again, one of the co-founders of this group, and at the forefront of a lot of these trends and a lot of these sneaker conversations that we're about to dive into. So before we even start, we put a couple of lists out that I want to get your opinion on. But the first, I want to know, what is your sneaker of the year? Because I've seen it on Twitter, but the people need to hear it on this podcast.
Okay, so first and foremost, we've utilized the term maybe 8 times by now. So I speak from a standpoint of community. So I'm all about that. I don't do the elitist stuff. I don't do the classist stuff. I don't do none of that. So The sneaker of 2023, aka the undrafted but now league's MVP, is the Panda Dunk. And I don't care if it dropped last year. We're talking about the impact. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Like, come on. You can't hate that shoe. You have to recognize what it is to the community, and also the impact that it's had, not only to sneakerheads, but people that aren't into sneakers.
For me, I'm going to go ahead and say that by that same definition, this is maybe a tier up from that. But I think the amount of times I see this shoe, and I hate to use demand, demand is a good way to measure, but how much it's going for, which sucks because again, this was intended to be a GR. But when a GR turns into, like, this shoe is somebody's grail. No lie. I was spending time with some family last week, and I have a cousin who's, you know, a teenager, and he couldn't stop talking about this shoe. And it's funny because it's just like, that's how I used to talk about the original military blue. Like, I love that shoe. So for me, I think this is at the top of my list overall impact, because you're seeing guys wear it, girls wear it, you're seeing sneakerheads wear it, but then you're also kind of seeing like the new, like, I hate to say, like the TikTok crowd wearing it, right? So I'm with you on that definition. This is going to go ahead and be one of mine. Are there any other ones from this year that you think deserve a mention for the top 10, whether that definition or just overall?
No, for sure. And that's the thing. It's crazy. I was going to say it earlier, but I knew it was going to get to the conversation. But you actually have it behind you. Like, though, if we're going to have the sneakerheads sneaker of the, not that one. Not that one. The lost and found.
I know how you feel about those.
Yeah, no, not the general purpose, the lost and found one, the military Black Ford.
Yeah.
Are really the sneakers of the year when it comes to, once again, accessibility, impact, and also demand. You know, mind you, we don't even have to bring up the third market of what it is or what it's going for, because mind you, it's hit those strikes, whether it's 3 out of 4, 2 out of 4, you know, wherever so have it. But you're absolutely right about the military Black Ford. I love that shoe. I think the Panda also helped that shoe as well, because it's a black and white shoe. It's easy to wear. And you know, also the 4 is also my favorite silhouette. So like, I had to have that military Black 4. I think we also have to start pushing the needle to the brands as well, because if we expect change, we also have to change how we are rating their work. And I feel like the sneaker of the year conversation is the conduit for that. Like, they look to see what our sneaker of the year list is, no matter how big of influence you have or small as you have it. But if we are saying the lost and found one is the sneaker of the year, it's like, okay, well, we can keep feeding them the same shoe every X amount of years because we know they're going to go after it. So mind you, that's another reason I push the Panda so much, because it's like, to be completely honest with you, I mean, we could talk about it later, but if we're calling a spade, it's actually kind of been a little boring this year for sneakers, if we think about it. You know, a lot of brands have been leaning so much on the collaborations, and we can't even live with the collaboration, because after that drop, we got to prepare for the next drop.
I do want to go quickly through our top 10 list, jumping back into 2022. We do a top 10 list every year that's based off of, we call it the staff picks, but it's based off of, like what you said earlier. Did these shoes actually hit people's feet and people wore them? And how fair was the release? Was there enough stock? Was there bot protection, etc.? All the things that we care about when it comes to a release. Just want to get your quick reaction, kind of a rapid fire. So at number 10, we have the SoleSavy Benberry times New Balance 990 V2 Sandby the Time.
Now, I love it. I actually picked up that sneaker. I hit it for retail. The quality is amazing on that sneaker, man. I love the color palette that SoleSavy approached with that. I think that's a great shoe. It's a great shoe.
Yeah, and I, again, love to see people wearing it. Like, people got that in the What Did You Wear Today channel on SoleSavy. It's just like every day there's a few people that are rocking that so proudly and so happy they got them. Number 9 is one of my top sneakers of the list, because I really think that it's a great shoe that people wanted, and then they kind of pretend like they didn't want it once they found out it was a GR. But the Taxi AJ1s. What do you think about those?
The Taxi AJ1, I mean, I get it. I 100% get it. We're in the one space of things, and you get that yellow and black. I only wanted it because I was going to put the Wu-Tang logo on the back end.
Yeah, that would be.
I love that shoe from that standpoint, but I personally skipped on it, you know, because I could just do it without a one, you know, with too much yellow on it. It's a lot of space for that yellow on there.
Yeah, the next one we were really happy about its release and how many people got it and enjoyed it was the Pata Nike Air Max 1, the white colorway.
Yeah, I mean, I love that whole pack, man. I love it. I'm a huge Air Max 1 fan. Love that sneaker. I think that also brought a lot of people into the Air Max space as well. I'm inside of this big Air Max 1 group, and when that pack dropped, they saw a lot of trajectory from a standpoint of the growth within that. So I love what Pata did. I love the fact that they flipped the mudslide, man. Like that was amazing. That was amazing. So like fire shoe, man, fire.
The next one on our list was the Kith times New Balance 990 anniversary pack, which had a few drops in it.
I wasn't really too huge of a fan of that, but I understand the Kith loyalty. I get it. I 100% get it. I've seen that on a couple lists as well, from a standpoint of the approach with that. I think a lot of people that grabbed that sneakers were not only a huge fan of New Balance, but just a huge fan of Kith in general.
The next one is the Tom Sachs general purpose shoe. I like this shoe because, man, I'm a sucker for good marketing. Like if you're a sneakerhead, you're also a marketing head when you really think about the way that they've sold us these shoes our whole lives. But I like it. I like an everyday shoe. I like Tom Sachs's Nike stuff. The Mars Yard is just a crazy shoe, and obviously a grail for a lot of people. And I thought it was good. I thought it was comfortable. It wasn't overly comfortable. I didn't write home about the comfort, but the box, the ad, the way they dropped it, I thought, I'm a sucker for stuff like that. What are your thoughts on this shoe?
No, the marketing was insane. I had two approaches to it. I get it, from a standpoint of changing the trajectory on how you accept sneakers, but I'm also one of those people to where it's like, okay, play devil's advocate. Like, all right, cool. If it's boring and you have a general purpose shoe, drop that Mars Yard and give it to the people from that standpoint. So that was my only pushback on that, outside of, the conversation of it's more so of a branding conversation where you have to have, okay, if Tom Sachs wasn't affiliated with it, would it sell? But then at the end of the day, you can have that conversation about every sneaker. So I personally dislike the shoe in general. I personally wouldn't wear it, but it's also like not my style.
Yeah. I'm also just like, I know that it's basically a kill shot remix, but I just think anytime you take a stab at a new silhouette or a new version of silhouette, I got to give you extra points there. The next one on our list, we talked about it briefly, but I thought the shoe was constructed beautifully. Fire Red 3, what were your thoughts?
I'm a huge Fire Red 3 fan. I had to have the Fire Red 3, but that goes back to nostalgia, So I love the fact that it was available. So it comes back down to people being able to grow into maybe falling in love with that sneaker or buying that first Jordan for the first time. I'm not mad at that. Accessibility is one thing. Demand is one thing. They may have made too many, but hey, at the end of the day, you can't make too many and not serve everybody. So it has to be one or the other. So I'm completely cool with that.
Yeah, if they would went low on that one, man, people would still be complaining about it. So I'm glad they went that. Next one on our list. Hard to believe that this was this year, man. What a long year. Concept sounds like Air Max Mellow, Heavy, and the Far Out. Just the overall concepts pack. What did you think about those?
They snapped. They completely snapped. I love the patterns that they blended. That Far Out pack was crazy. I actually have that on my top 10 list as well. Like I said, I'm an Air Max 1 fan. I just love the approach. I love when it was so absurd that they threw that on there. You don't see that paisley print thrown together like that, and blended. I think they did a phenomenal job with that. But concepts, and they always come with it, man. Like Dion and them get it, man. Like they understand it.
It's almost a recency bias. Like if this had dropped in the holiday season, everybody would be talking about these, going crazy over them. And it's also, again, it's like with concepts, it's like you can give guys like LeBron the MVP every year, but once they've been doing it and they're so consistent, you're kind of like, it goes back to like Karl Malone getting the MVP over MJ. It's just like, we got to give it to somebody else. So I feel that way about concepts. Like they always put out good stuff, but people are so used to it that they almost like it almost works against them. But hey, not a bad problem to have. Next one on that made the list for the best releases of the year was the Jown New Balance 990 Olive.
I get it. I wasn't a fan, but also, mind you, I respect it. I think it comes back to really that loyalty with the brand. I think the loyalty with the brand sold that shoe, to be completely honest with you. But I get it. I've also seen that on a lot of people's lists as well. But mind you, like I said, it's a brand loyalty thing, from that perspective. So I'm not upset at it at all. I seen it on the Koku's list.
Yeah, these mood boarders are loyal, man. They love their favorite brands and favorite designers. They rock with them. I thought that they were cool as well, but not on my actual list. Second one is one that I feel like we've been talking about all year, really, because there was a bunch of them and the releases were great, the marketing was great, the rollout was great. Joe Freshgood's New Balance 993 Performance Art.
Joe will be in the same space as Dion and Concepts in another 5 to 10 years. So it's like, no, man, he understands the marketing, he understands the storytelling, he understands the positioning of color, and he also understands time. Time is everything. And also like how you display things, man. Like like the way he puts things together, like he gives you the multiple ways that you can put, wear a shoe, and also the fact that he's able to also provide you the apparel. Like I don't think he gets enough credit for his apparel. Like he kind of snaps on that standpoint as well. So I'm always with Joe being in that space. So that's the homie, So like he gets it. He understands the marketing brand, and he's one of us. He understands like how strong it is to make sure you have like some type of narrative on whatever that tangible product that you're delivering to the consumer.
That Joe Fresh Goods is rewriting the rules of collaboration, right? He to your point earlier about, hey, you want to work with me, you need us more than we need you. He realized that, and like there's a few guys that have, or a few people that have been able to collab with multiple brands at once, like Ronnie, of course, and a few others. But he really was like, yo, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And then the last one on this list was the Alma Manier Air Jordan 4 Violet, which was a hugely popular shoe this year. And I think that goes back to what you said about loyalty. People are really happy with the way that Alma Manier and Social Status and the Whitaker Group take care of their consumers and give back in multiple ways. That, to me, that almost elevated the shoe even higher, because it's a 4, it's beautiful looking, but it's also like you have everything that comes with the Whitaker Group and all that they do. And I think that's why this shoe hit so hard, and the timing, right? End of the year. What were your thoughts?
So my thing with that particular 4 is, the first thing that clicked in my mind was wearability. How long will it last? Because when you start playing with those materials like that, my thing is, once it wears in, will the sneaker still look good? That was my only pushback on that. Outside of that, tremendous shoe. The rollout was fire. The way he, presented it to the consumers from the raffle standpoint, that was fire. But my only pushback on that was, I'm waiting to see someone show that after that 6 or 7th wear. Like I'm waiting on that picture. But I get it. Super in demand. Rollout was fire. James and him always snaps when it comes to collaborations. But I am also kind of like, does brand fatigue kick into place as well? Because I'm kind of like, we get a lot of my year collabs, and it's like, all right, cool. How many more my year collabs can we get? Give me time to appreciate the ones that I do have, And I know he has a couple more coming out, but it's like I'm kind of a little slowly burnt out on the my year collabs just for a little moment, from the standpoint of like, all right, cool, let's see some different things as well. But it's fire shoe. I totally get it if it's on someone's sneaker of the year list.
Let's end this with some predictions. What is a prediction for 2023 sneaker culture, sneaker industry that you are passionate about? I'll give you a second to think while I share mine. I think that we're going to see independent sneakers, people making their own shoes, people partnering with other brands to make their own shoes, not the major players, and then curious to see how brands react to that. Because with us, we did the SS4, and then we have something really excited coming out next year with our partners at Garrison and Philly, making shoes locally, putting 100% creative control into designers' hands. That's something that really no other brand does, unless you're, the top of the top collaborator. So I'm excited to see what that, and then also what that forces brands to do. Do they bring back sort of a neighborhood program where they start to do kind of hyper local collabs? And I just think that that's going to open up a lot. I saw the designer from former Yeezy designer just made an announcement about a studio opening up with 3D printing and helping people create products that way. So that is my prediction, that there's going to be a lot of independent sneakers made that aren't bootlegs. And it's gonna change the way that brands look at collaborators, right? Because right now they get to choose from everybody, and now I think people are gonna start saying, "You don't need to choose me anymore. I have somewhere where I can go make a shoe."
Man, you kind of aced it, man. Just from a standpoint of just where creativity is laying within the consumer, because like we're molded to be consumers, but now it's like, now we're in a space of, when you look at whatever social media platform it is, now we're molding ourselves to be creators in whatever way we want to be, whether it's creating digital content or creating tangible product. And I think that these brands are starting to realize that, okay, well, this person may not be a LeBron James-ish type stature, but he has his following, his cult following of whether it's 40 to 50,000 people, but that could be half of that is 15,000 units. So it's like, why not? So I think we're getting into a space where brands are probably going to start realizing that. I think that Nike's I'm anxious to see where Nike goes with the dot swoosh, because it's like, I think, their whole push with that is like creators. And it's like, okay, well, if creators is the next space that we're going into, I think people creating their own things is going to be where we go. In addition to that, I also think first come, first serve makes a huge return next year. Um, Not only because of the amount of sneakers that are going out, but also just from a standpoint of brands are in a space, or stores are in a space to where now it's like they're starting to understand how powerful community is. And in order to have community, in order to grow a lifestyle, you got to be somewhat of inside of that community. It's only but so much you can do from a standpoint of a digital raffle. You lose the actual interaction, the human interaction, when you don't allow people to sit outside of your store or come have that interchangeable moment, whether that transaction outside of, hey, here's this invoice. So I think first come first serve makes a huge standpoint back next year. I also think that the release calendar gets back on track next year too, because really the release calendar has been kind of all over the place. Really, in reality, it's like we haven't been seeing drops until 2 weeks prior to, and it's like, oh, this drops in 2 weeks. Okay, cool. Let me prep for it. I think they go back to that standard basis of what's actually happening from that standpoint as well. So yeah, the the direct to consumer, but more so consumer to consumer takes over now with the partnerships of your big brands, and then also I think we get a hike in community. Also, we filter out some of the resellers that were in this space, monetizing off of sneakers. I think a lot of those people are going to slowly drop off as well. So now we get back into honing in on what really made sneaker culture, and that is literally community.